You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Enjoy the video. Hey guys, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming, something to me on Twitter, The Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Far Beyond the World. So let's go ahead and jump right back into it, guys. Apparently the feast is pretty long, so we're going to get through more of it today. Please sit back and enjoy. Fix 18 minutes while entertaining you, and let's jump right in. Alarm Chan, you're up, and let's go. Okay. I can't believe she was able to maintain such good humor at the table, despite carrying such horror within. A village of wolves in masks. It's clear, though, that recounting the tale makes her crack, almost as if she was reliving it anew. This wouldn't stand. Not with us. Delrin and I knew that one of us would have to stay and stop the fires, but neither was willing to forego the privilege of bringing the bandits to justice, so we gambled for it. She shrugs casually, causing some to chuckle. Delrin, lucky git he was, won and his pack immediately left. And you just let him? Dran sounds completely outraged, but the female doesn't budge. Believe me, it gave me no joy playing the forest ranger while he went off to battle, but our duty is both to the people and the land was bleeding. Unless we wanted a carbon makeover of our northern reaches, there was no other choice. Regara states sternly, and despite Dran's intense protests, most of the gathered seemed to agree with the female. As we continued our struggle to contain the flames, we found one survivor among the wreckage. It was a deerkin, a young druid badly wounded. We managed to patch him up. As thanks, he offered us his services in bringing the criminals to justice. He claimed he could commune with the forest and keep an eye on the other pack. She pokes her head playfully, rolling her eyes as some of the wolves snicker. I know. At first I was skeptical as anyone would. I've never seen any real magic in action, so I ignored him. I wish I was wiser. He knew those woods better than anyone could, found paths otherwise unseen by any rangers. So I began to listen, cautiously, but still. The female pauses, allowing the gathered to settle down. The following day, the trees told him that Delrin reached his quarry, released the slaves, and killed the poachers. A fanciful tale, I thought, but one detail caught me off guard. The druid claimed that there were only 4 enemies killed and that the forest warned of others at large. I already knew that there were at least 14, so it became clear it was a trap and that the druid wasn't making it up. Sylvan magic! Rubbish to all that! Audra scoffs in amusement, waving to one of the attendants to bring her wine. My son would never kill another wolf! Dran added, waving as well and waiting to be served in turn. I noticed that this comment makes Rannick's lips curl up in a subdued snarl. You weren't there. The female responds raspily through a taunting growl. You haven't seen what we've seen, what those wolves have done. It was perverse, going against everything our people stand for. The way I see it, they weren't wolves at all, but rabid beasts needed to be put down. How can you say such a thing about our kin? Audra shifts uncomfortably, contempt for Regara's words clear in her voice. Because they were intent on carrying out those atrocities across the entire border unless stopped. And how would you know that? Dran challenges her, retrieving his goblet from Trist. The trees spoke to the deer. They told him. The trees again? Aldous sneers with annoyance. The trees don't speak, you gullible girl. The deer took you for a fool, you were. Again. Regara blinks, snarling and releasing an exasperated sigh. You weren't there. He knew things he could not have possibly known. Like what? He knew of Rannick's coming of age, for one. Everyone invested in the tribe's politics would have known of Rannick's coming of age. The pudgy female raises her hand and slaps them against her knees. He's one step away from being a damned prince, the way Varric treats him. He knew of the human as well, Regara adds, causing those to whisper between themselves in confusion. In fact, with this one revelation, she seized the attention of all the gathered. He said the tree spoke of him incessantly, almost as if his sudden arrival has shaken the entire forest to its core. Okay. Alright. Why would the forest be speaking of this... Why would the forest be speaking of this human? That I do not know, the female says in a defeated tone, taking another sip from her cup. But if you need more proof, his constant warning about incoming attacks were flawless. He predicted all enemy movements, and thanks to that, We were able to counter any ambushes. Ambushes? As I said, Delrin only caught 4 intruders, which meant that at least 10 of them were still at large. We repelled the first attack with ease, but it soon got clear that we were being tested. Tested? The chief finally pitches in. He was oddly quiet throughout the entire exchange, most likely taking in everything Regara was saying. Whatever they were doing, they did not try to kill us outright. At first it almost seemed like a rather intense training regime. They checked our alertness, our combat skill, and then disengaged. You think they were trying to get the measure of you? Vithir raises his brow. His face is oddly stoic, almost emotionless. That would be my guess, yes. Why did you allow that, then? That's Dran, okay. Why did you allow that, then? Dran chastises her in annoyance. Why didn't you pursue them once they ended their games? I won't be taking combat advice from a wolf who never wielded a weapon in his life. Regara draws a collective gasp from the gathered, while Vithir goes as far as to chuckle. That's exactly what they were counting on. We were outnumbered and surrounded, strong only as a unit. The moment we dispersed, they'd pick us off one by one. Well said. Again, Vithir agrees with her assessment, raising his cup in admiration, and the female thanks him with a gentle bow. I had a good teacher, she mutters, drawing a proud smile from the brown male's muzzle. I had us stay firm and stand together. Seeing their tactics didn't work, the enemy tried to wear us out by depriving us from sleep. This was no lost hunting party. Those were seasoned warriors trying to kill us slowly one by one, like stalked prey. Very much seems like it. The chief nods, calmly reaching for a clay bottle, and once he pours himself a tall glass of moonshine, I begin to realize that this is quite serious. Worse yet, they were waiting for reinforcements. The druid told me that there was another party entering Tiernan from the north, at least a dozen. He gave me no reason to not believe his words, so our situation was getting desperate. Wait, what more proof do we need? The chief spreads his arms and bangs the table. It's an invasion! An invasion? You've lost your mind! You're taking this girl's word for it? Based on a story spun by an otherkin, nonetheless. The 2 elders continue their unbearable mockery. How can they do such a thing in the face of Regara's harrowing account? What am I thinking? Of course they can. They're massive. Yeah. Sylvan folk are known for their deep connection to nature. It's where our own traditions take source. The name trees, to name a few. Don't be absurd. Do you honestly believe a deer spoke with trees? She sneers, but this time it's Vithir who bangs the table in anger. I look to the male, who bares his fangs freely, entire fur standing up in barely contained rage. I speak with my soulmate's tree every night, thanks to you. Am I being absurd, woman? Oh, I dozed off again. Annelle stirs from one of her stupors and blinks in the dim light of candles. Considering the timing of those so far, I'm more and more convinced she does it on purpose. My, it has gotten incredibly chilly, she mutters, shivering, and I pull at Rannick's cape. The wolf looks at me confused, and I nod towards Annelle. Realizing what I mean to do, he smiles at me approvingly and unpins the cloak from his pauldron. Once it's free, I fold it onto my arm and walk around the table, with everyone looking at me with slight surprise as I drape the cloak around the elder's shoulder. My word, you're reading my mind, you lovable beastie. She smiles, pulling the cloak tighter around her shoulders while I pour her another glass of wine. Considering she might be actually cold, I also nod towards the moonshine bottle, and she smiles at me knowingly. Go on. Why not? She snickers teasingly and uncorked the top, pouring a dash into her wine. Thank you ever so much. What a charming little fella. Perhaps you should be escorted back home, Annelle. Vithir's anger has now completely melted away, and he looks to the female with genuine concern. No, it's quite all right now, thank you. She waves her paw at him. I haven't felt this taken care of in quite some time. I'm loath to let it in so soon. The female turns to shake my arm in gratitude, and I smile, noticing Vithir's approving nod. I realize what she's doing. Every time things begin to spiral, she diffuses the tension with masterful precision. As I return to my place, the chief looks toward Regara, who took this little spat as an opportunity to have her cup refilled. She's going through this at an alarming pace, but at the same time, can I blame her? What she described so far sounds like living hell. You were saying about the ambushes and the incoming enemy reinforcements. Yes. The large female nods, trying to muster the courage to say what needed to be said. I was worried this would be our end, but thanks to the druid, we were able to counteract every move of the enemy. However, the time was running out. Infuriated that their ambushes kept failing, they eventually figured out that the deer was our eyes. One night they decided to attack us in full force in an open battle. She dips her lips in wine and takes a shallow huff of air. Again, I thought it was one of their tests, but this time they fought until they fell. It was a gambit. They sacrificed 2 of their own so they could get to the deer and deliver him a deadly blow. That's when I got this. Regara points to the scar on her forearm. And that's when Friend and Anea got wounded. Our only consolation was that we managed to kill 2 of those sons of bitches. Once their task was accomplished, they scattered into the woods like cowards. So, you admit you killed your fellow wolves? Oh, so, you admit you killed your fellow wolves. Duran speaks in accusatory tone as if seeking outrage from the gathered, but it is surprised none shares his sentiment. Fellow? They tried to kill us! She did what any true wolf would do. She stood her ground and fought for her life. What happened next? Uther urges her on, clearly intrigued by the events. As he was dying, the druid managed to give me one final warning. He revealed that help was on its way. He said Rannoch left looking for us, and all I had to do was wait out 2 more nights. What? The chief utters in disbelief, almost sounding amazed by her words, while I look to my wolf in confusion. We hunkered down, buried the deer as is custom for his kind, and waited. Waited to live, to fight, to die. Waited for Rannoch to finally arrive. It was getting gruesome. Although now fewer in numbers, they made up for it in ferocity. They were out for blood. Can you blame them? You killed 2 of their own! At times, I do have to wonder whose side you're on. The male issues a subdued growl to which Aldris only scoffs. On the side of reason! Let her finish her account, for crying out loud! Uther bangs the table once more. His patience is clearly wearing thin. Continue, please, and pay them no mind. By the dawn of the 3rd day, we were on our last legs. We would have all perished had Rannoch not arrived when he did, right amid their final assault. I can barely contain tears from creeping onto my eyes. Had we not argued, had we not have our heart-to-heart, he might have not left. It's hard to understand that the lives of so many hinged on something so seemingly unrelated. Immediately I venture to Verissa's words about fate, but before I can allow my emotions to spiral, Regara casts her gaze in our direction. Her muzzle beams with pride as she looks to Rannoch with utter devotion. You should have seen him. He descended onto the enemy like the great wolf spirit himself. No hesitation, no fear. No hesitation, no surrender. He cut down 2 of those fuckers with one fell swoop, inspiring the rest of us to bring out what fighting spirit was left in our body. It was glorious. We fought like we never fought in our lives. My breath becomes heavy, and I continuously blink away the tears, trying not to look at Rannoch, as pretty as much every eye was now fixated on him. I could see his father's proud expression as Regara delivers her testimony, and I share in his awe, but Rannoch's oddly uncomfortable. If not for him, I wouldn't be here. None of us would have returned. She raises her cup, and everyone does the same, standing to their feet. Since it's not really a verbal cue, I am free to do the same, and everyone cheers in one single voice. To Rannoch! It's clear the Grey Wolf does not know how to take this. He seems embarrassed by the unanimous display of admiration, but if what Regara says is true, he deserves it and so much more. In fact, it makes me feel quite embarrassed. I was only serving lunch and fetching ingredients while they were out there fighting for their lives. Pretty much my worst predictions came true, and I feel so sorry for him. Once the cheers die down a bit and everyone gets settled, Regara continues with her story. With Rannoch's help, we repelled the final assault, and were ready to pursue the escaping few wolves we didn't cut down. That's when their leader finally revealed himself. He was oddly confident and smug, asking us for terms, while waving a piece of paper in the air as if it were his shield. I would have none of it, she states with all the disgust she could muster. Rannoch wanted to hear him out, and I don't blame him. But he didn't see what those wolves did to the burrow. No, that bastard was my quarry. I would have my revenge for all the suffering he inflicted upon our land, so I challenged him to a duel instead. Despite him asking for terms? Dran snarls in outrage, but again, he and Aldris seem to be the only ones playing the devil's advocate. I cared not for his terms. He was dead meat to me. Regara spits on the ground, and unsurprisingly the vast majority of the gathered cheer for her. I said to him that if he defeats me, my blood debt dies with me, and he can parley with whoever he pleases. But if he wants to parley, it would be over my dead body. Many wolves rise up to their feet and begin applauding, to the utter horror of the elders. The entire field fills with ovations that don't seem to die out, and eventually the chief is forced to get up and settle them down with gentle waving of his paws. I'm impressed you decided to take him on, despite being exhausted after an entire week of fighting. Vithier mutters in approval as his friend takes back his seat. I was hoping he'd thought the same and see me as an easy win. The fool accepted.
Well, you were on your last legs.
The chief smirks in amusement, and Regara shakes her head in jest. You have no idea, Chief, what glorious second wind burning hatred can be.
Actually, I can, and I applaud your valor.
The chief bows his head towards her, causing Dran to stand up and growl.
Glorifying mindless violence?
Glorifying bravery, actually, but I understand the distinction might be lost on cowards. Dran's about to rush the table, but Aldous pulls him back into his seat. What happens next? She demands. This time she's the one oddly invested in the following events, rubbing her paws in clear frustration. Yeah, I think the two elders are involved in this. They were hoping Rannoch was going to die. Everyone's probably expecting some spectacular duel, but in truth, all I did was deflect his first swing and crack his skull open like a soft-boiled egg. Regara displays her paws pitifully in clear disappointment, but the account is much to the crowd's content. They gathered cheer and laugh once more. As he fell to the ground, his brain splattered all over the forest floor. I was able to calm down enough to recognize him. He was my intended. The female shrugs, with many muttering between each other in the far-off tables. I haven't seen that twerp in 10 years, but I would recognize him anywhere. He had a growth spurt, that's for sure, leading the pack as if he were born into it. I guess I became the end of his military and political career. Okay, alright, She scoffs mockingly, reaching towards a pouch at her belt, and removing from it a crumpled envelope. That's the paper he was waving. The female brings it over to the table and passes it to the chief. I watch intently as he hastily opens it, removing from it a rather nice-looking parchment with a wax seal at the very bottom.
That's a galet from Guldurin, signed by Vortigern himself.
He exhales in surprise, passing it over to Vithier. To whom it may concern. The brown wolf reads out loud with bemusement. The bearer of this letter is entitled. He nods in surprise. To all accommodation, protection, and assistance befitting his liege lord. Signed Vortigern, by the grace of Eluna, chief of Guldurin, lord of the northern pass and protector of the Sylvan folk. He recounts the titles with an exasperated sigh, while the gathered begin to chatter in quite a confusion. Quite a protector indeed. Why don't you style yourself like that? By the grace of Eluna and all that rubbish. Vithier throws mockingly at his friend, to which he only snickers.
Might be because I'm not an insecure prick.
But think about it. You could be the chief of Tiernan, lord of here and there, and protector of the feasting table. The brown male continues his joke to the growing amusement of the gathered. Then again, it would make introductions a rather tedious affair. Are you two done playing jesters? Aldous finally interrupts this, standing up and approaching the table. That foolish girl just admitted to killing an envoy from another chief, her intended nonetheless, and yet you sit here and mess around? She snatches the document from Vithier's paws and begins to read it intently, while Regara shrugs. What else was I supposed to do? Kiss him and show him the way the next burrow? Alright guys, I'm gonna pause it right here. Wow, we've got a bit of political intrigue going on here. So she killed her betrothed. I can't say I blame her. I probably would have done the same damn thing if I were in her shoes and he was killing people. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, leave a super thanks or a tip if you can. It always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!